So welcome back students to this lecture 4 of laws of motion, a very important topic. In the last class we had discussed about inertia, then Newton's first law, then we discussed Newton's second law. And if you remember, in the last class we had derived the equation F equal to ma. That's a very important question which is asked in examination, to derive the equation that is F equal to m into a. So what does this equation basically tell us? Like already this derivation we had done, where we had basically taken that according to this Newton's second law, the force is given as, or it is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum. So whenever there is a force acting on an object, there will be a change in momentum, and how fast the momentum changes, that is basically going to be the force. That is what we discussed. So we saw the derivation something like this, that we found the change in momentum of the object. You can just go through the earlier lecture. Then we got the momentum as m delta v, that is a change in momentum as m delta v divided by delta t. And then finally we came across this equation, that is F equal to m into a. So whenever on any given mass there is a force acting, we always have get this equation, that is you can always, there will be an acceleration whenever a force acts on any mass. Or we can say that if you know the acceleration, if you know the mass, you can get the force on it. And we then discuss that the force is also given by the unit, that is Newton is the unit of the force. Now let us see how this can be applied on a given object. Let us say you have let us take a very simple calculation where a force of, say, example, just for you to be clear, say a force of 100 Newton acts on an object of mass, say 5 kgs, and I ask you the question, calculate the acceleration. Okay, so what is the acceleration if I ask you the question? So you have a object which is basically of mass 5 kgs, and on this object you have applied a force of 100 Newton. That is the situation. And I'm assuming here is that the object is moving in a frictionless surface, there is no friction or any other reverse forces acting on it. Then in that case, how do I calculate the acceleration? Is I'll use the formula F equal to m into a. So when I put the values over here, 100 is equal to 5 into a, I'll get acceleration is 100 divided by 5, and 100 divided by is 20, but it has a unit. The unit of acceleration in motion in a straight line you have studied, it is 20 meters per second square. So we can always use this formula, that is F equal to ma. You will get a is equal to F divided by m. That is how you can get acceleration on a force of an object moving with having a mass m. Now a few interesting things if you just go through the equation. So don't think it as something like a simple maths also. You just apply a bit of mind over there. Okay. So say for example, on the object, okay, you have, say I increase the mass of that object. Okay, say I increase the mass of the object to, say I increase the mass to 20. So in that case, if the same force acts on the object of 100 Newton, the mass is say 20 kg. Now what happens is acceleration is F divided by m, that is 100 divided by 20. Now heavier mass I have taken. So what is 100 divided by 20? 5 meters per second square. So what do we see is that if the mass of the object increases, what we see here from this simple calculation is that if the mass of the object increases, you will see that the acceleration will decrease. The object will not get accelerated that much. So that is how we understand this particular equation, that how is this formula to be used. So in examinations, they can this is how they are going to ask problems on physics, that uh, say I ask you a simple question that a force of okay a force of 500 newton acts on an object which is initially at rest. So basically initially at rest means V naught is taken 0. A force of 500 newton acts on an object initially at rest, and it acts for a time of 5 seconds, and the mass of the object is say 20 kgs. Okay. The question is, how much will be its displacement? So normally displacement is given by this term, that is, this is the formula for displacement. The question which can be asked is, how much is its displacement? What is its acceleration? What will be its final velocity? Right? So you have a simple question where a 400 Newton is acting on a mass of how much? 20 kgs, and the object was initially at rest. So initially at rest, that means we have this value, that is V naught is equal to 0, time is say 5 seconds. For 5 seconds, a force of 500 Newton acted on an object of 20 kg. And now our idea is to find these three things. What was the displacement? What was the acceleration? What is the final velocity? So how do I do it? So first thing, by using the formula F equal to ma. So what are the values we have? We have the values F equal to 500 Newton. Second value we have mass of the object is 20 kgs. So by using 500 Newton and this mass which is 20 kg, both the things I'll just combine, and when I combine these two things, I'll use the formula F equal to m into a, and this implies I'll find out the acceleration first. Acceleration is F divided by m, which is 500 divided by 20, and I think that it must be how much, what must be the acceleration here? It must be say 25 meters per second square. Right, 0 0 gets cancelled, and you have 50 divided by 2. 50 divided by 2 is like your value, that is 25 meters per second square. That is the acceleration you have got. Now what we do is, last in the motion in a straight line, we had already done the equation like V equal to V naught plus AT. We know that initial velocity is 0, acceleration is 25, it acted for a time of 5 seconds. So 25 into 5. So 25 into 5 is 125 meters per second. That is the final velocity. So we get another important term, final velocity. So first we got acceleration by the formula F divided by m, and that acceleration is 25 meters per second square. Then next we got the formula, that is final velocity V, which is 125 meters per second. How much distance must the object have traveled? Okay, the object must have traveled a distance of, for that again we use the formula x equal to v naught t plus half at square. So as if you have seen the, if you see the question, that the time for which the object, the force was acting was 5 seconds, the acceleration we got was 25, initial velocity is 0, 0 into 5 plus half 25 into 5 square. It was acting for that particular time. So 0 into 5 is 0, right? So you have this value, that is basically 0 over here, plus you can just calculate this value, which is 625. that is 25 into 25, 625, that's what you'll get, divided by 2, which must be around 312.5 meters. That is what must be the value of this. So the idea here is that there is a connection between straight line and the equations of that is Newton's law, and then what you studied in motion in a straight line. Like you had to use this equation. We had v equal to v naught plus 80. That was one of the equation. Then we used x equal to v naught t plus half 80 square. That was another equation, right? So this equation F equal to ma tells us that if the mass is more, the acceleration will be less, and if the mass is less, acceleration will be more. That is how we should understand the equation F equal to ma. Even though the same force acts, if a same force acts on a lighter object, the object will be accelerated faster, and if the same force acts on a heavier object, it will have a very small acceleration. So that is how you should understand this. That is example of what is Newton's second law, that is F equal to m into a. It has a lots and lots of application. This is a simple math example of how how in examination a problem is asked and how it has to be solved. Now coming back to a simple example like what we were discussing, if I just show you that, okay, so if I just show you a clip that how you can have these changes in force and you have the changes in which one, mass. Okay, so say for example I have this object over here. Let us say I just show you the masses of this. Say I have kept a 50 kg object, right? And on this 50 kg, let us say I apply a force of say 50 Newton. What must happen? The object, if I just increase the force, okay, if I just start applying the force, you can see that if assuming that friction is not there, what is basically happening here? That as you are applying the force, the object goes with a constant acceleration. You have applied what must be the acceleration as per the calculation? You have applied a force of 50 Newton on an object of mass 50. So it must be 1 meter per second square, right? So what happens is its speed slowly starts increasing. See, speed is increasing, remember, but acceleration is 1 meter per second square. What it basically means, 1 meter per second square? It basically means the object uh, will increase its velocity every second by 1 meter per second. That is what it basically means here. Okay. So if I just come back to the original situation here, okay, that yeah. So if I just come back to the original situation where I am applying a force, say on a, if I increase the mass, so 250 kgs if I put, and if I apply the same force, okay, I have applied only 50 Newton. What has happened, as you can see in the example, that already the discussion we have done by F equal to ma formula, that if the force is increased, what will happen? Its acceleration will basically be lesser because the mass is more, force is the same. Okay, so the rate at which the speed, if you can see the speed over here, the rate at which the speed is now increasing, these are 250 kgs block. Okay, and you can see, what do you expect if I just keep the third object over it? Say for example I keep one more object over this, you can see that now the acceleration has further decreased and the speed is not changing at that way. Just here, like if I go on, if I just decrease it, you will see that the rate of speed increase or acceleration increases, and you can see the speed also changes fast. See, speed is different, acceleration is different here. Okay, now if I reduce the mass again, you can just see. Okay, if I reduce the mass further, okay, so that is how you basically understand this concept of what is called as how force acts. Now, like for example, if I want to stop an object, say an object is going at a very high speed, say I just apply on a, so the, each say say you have an object, okay, say this was the object, combined weight is 50 plus, say you have 200 plus 50, that is the object, and then you started applying a force, okay, and you can see that you have applied a force and now it has gained a velocity, okay, and you can calculate that the total mass is 250 kgs, the force is 200 newton. You can always calculate the acceleration by using the formula F equal to ma, and because of the acceleration you can see that speed is increasing. Now if you see the law, Newton's first law, okay, like and Newton's second law, if you just combine them both, if I want to say reduce the speed of the object, okay, then what I should do, I will have to apply a force in which direction, in a reverse direction, right? So if I want to stop an object, then what I do here is I just start applying a force in, say, reverse direction, and you can see that when I am applying the force in reverse direction, I have applied a force of how much Newton? Minus 100 Newton. In which direction? In a reverse direction. So the moment I start applying the force of minus 100 Newton in which direction? In a reverse direction, in that situation, okay, so what will basically happen here is that its speed will start decreasing, and now you can see that the force is constant, so there is a constant retardation we call. What is retardation here? Retardation is what is called as the decrease in velocity, okay, and you can see that if I want to stop it faster, then I will have to apply more force, okay. If I want to just stop it faster, I can apply more force, right? So now I applied almost minus 280 Newton, and you can see that it's there is more retardation, and slowly the speed of the object in the reverse direction goes on decreasing, okay, unless and until it just stops, okay. Now what if I just continue applying the negative force? Now what will happen? The object now starts moving in which direction? In the reverse direction, okay. So now you can see that the object is starting to move in basically which direction? In a reverse direction. So everything basically depends on the concept of force, on how much mass it is acting. If I just add certain more masses, okay, say a 40 kg mass I've added, okay, another 100 kg if I just add, okay, okay, this has come, right? So that is how you basically calculate in physics. So depending on what is the nature of force, and what do you see here? There is no force acting on this particular this one, right? Even though no force is acting, but still the object is able to continue its constant speed of 40 meters per second. Reason here is that there is no friction acting, and it is as per Newton's first law that an object will continue to move unless and until some external force doesn't act on it. So there is no external force on it, neither there is a friction nor any application force. So in that case, acceleration is zero. Remember this situation. As a student, you should understand acceleration is zero here. In this particular diagram, as you are seeing, here the acceleration is zero, but still the object continues its motion. The reason is it had already had a velocity of 40 meters per second. So it goes with the Newton's first law that an object will be in a uniform motion. The word uniform here basically means a motion with a constant velocity. That is what we call it as uniform motion. So the object continues in its uniform motion unless and until acted upon by an external agency. Right? So this is how we understand the basics of mechanics, Newton's first law, then we have this Newton's second law. Okay, so coming back to the diagram over here, right? So coming back to our concepts about this Newton's law, that force is basically given by this formula M into A. Now Next thing we'll just discuss here is what is called as another important thing and interesting thing, that is called as an impulse. Okay, so what is this basically impulse? So impulse is basically defined as a large force acting on an object for a very short duration of time. Just like for example, to a nail when a hammer is hit. Okay, so when to a nail when a hammer is hit, that hammer is not continuously pushing it, it just exerts a force and comes out. Okay, so very what do you call it as a force acting on an object for a very short duration of time, a large force acting on an object for a very short duration of time, that is basically called as impulse, and that force is known as impulsive force. Like for example, in cricket, say a ball is hit by a bat. In football, you kick a football. Okay, these are all examples of what you call it as impulse, a large force acting on an object for a very short period of time. So, so impulse is basically given by this formula. Impulse is given by the formula force into time, right? So its unit, what will be the SI unit of impulse? So impulse, if you see the value of force, force is measured in newtons and time is in seconds. So in SI system, the unit of impulse is Newton second. So impulse, SI unit of impulse is basically NS, Newton second. That is the SI unit of impulse. So impulse is a large force acting on an object for a very short duration of time, right? So if I just show you an example of this impulsive force over here, okay, you must have seen our greatest captain, Dhoni. Okay, I will just see an example of an impulsive force over here, right? So see, for what was the short duration for which the ball was hit? Okay. The ball and the bat were in contact for a very short duration of time, and in this very short duration of time, a very large force is exerted, and that's why you could see that ball going out of the out of that or going for a going out of the fence for a sixer or for a four. Okay, so uh, impulsive force, I think this is the example which very easily you'll get the idea that what is basically impulsive force. Impulsive force, like you are exerting a very large force and you can just see the contact time. Okay, the contact time between the ball and bat is very it may be in microseconds, not even in seconds, it will be in microseconds, and in that very short duration of time, you know that how Dhoni swings the bat, right? So any example you can have many millions of examples in day to day life where you have this impulse. Okay, so impulse is a very large force acting on an object for a very short duration of time. So what is the formula for this impulse? Just now we discussed the formula for impulse is basically force into time. Okay, so that is basically what we call it as the formula for force into that is the formula for impulse. Now, next thing we'll just try to see is uh, can that impulse can be shown as the rate of change of momentum. Okay, so what I'll try to show you is that impulse can be basically seen as change in momentum. So one more way in which I can show impulse as what is what I will try to show you here by a simple derivation is that impulse is a change in momentum. Okay, so how do I derive this equation to show that impulse is a change in momentum? So before I go to that derivation part, be very clear that impulse is calculated by multiplying force with which important thing? Time. Okay, so when I'm just showing this important thing, so just see the simple derivation. I want to show in examination question is the question they will ask is show that the question which will be asked show that impulse is equal to change in momentum. So this is the question which in examination they are going to ask. Okay, so when this question is asked about this impulse, okay, to show that impulse is change in that is equal to change in momentum. So here what how easily you can do is just see the simple derivation here. uh, Impulse is given by force into time. Okay, now formula for force is mass into acceleration into time. So acceleration is already the formula we have derived in Newton's first law, v minus v naught by t into t. Okay, so here what is the thing which will get cancelled here? The thing which will get cancelled here is time. The time thing gets cancelled, and what remains now? The thing which remains is mv minus v naught. Okay, so v naught is the initial velocity, v is the final velocity. So you will get impulse equal to mv minus mv naught. What does this actually mean now? Mv naught was the initial momentum, mv was the final momentum. Because v is the final velocity, mv is the final momentum. V naught was the initial velocity, so mv naught is the initial momentum. So this is nothing but I can write it as final momentum minus initial momentum, and that is nothing but I have shown here as impulse is change in momentum. Okay, so that is how the question is asked in examination. The question asked is show that impulse is equal to change in momentum. So how did we derive it? First we show that impulse is force into time. Formula for force is ma into t. Put a equal to v minus v naught by t. T and t gets cancelled, and you will get impulses which one? Change in momentum. Okay, so this is how you are going to get the two questions. So impulse, what we discussed today, is a very large force acting on an object for a very short interval of time. And today I just tried to explain how the formula F equal to ma basically works. So you can just see the notes. An assignment will be given to you. I want you to upload the assignment given to you in your respective classes. You can upload all the pages. You can write it in a proper notebook, and once you have written it in a proper notebook, right, you upload it as PDF file. Make one file only. You have certain apps. You can just check over in the internet and all that. There are certain apps where continuously you go on clicking the pages. All the pages will get combined, and you'll get one particular PDF. That PDF you just upload it in the Google Classroom. Okay, so the questions will be sent to you, assignments. Okay, and you can answer them, right? So today we'll stop over here, and then in the next class we'll continue with the topic laws of motion, right? Thank you.